Wide receiver position battles is the name of the game on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, and Kansas City. We're going to watch those wide receivers battle it out in a high-powered unit. Bloom, who do we expect to come out on top? How's this going to shake out in training camp?
I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing, right? But we do know that Patrick Mahomes can create fantasy value. So we're looking at drafts. The first choice is Kadarius Toney. And I think that Kadarius Toney makes sense as the first choice because of that immense upside with respect to his talent, and also that he was integrated halfway through the season. So it wasn't exactly ideal conditions for him to show what he could do in this offense. I think his ADP reflects the risk and reward to make him certainly an interesting proposition. But we have Skyy Moore in year 2, things slowing down for him. We have Justin Ross, who got a lot of kudos earlier in the spring. We know talent is not an issue there. It's just his ability to stay healthy. Rashee Rice, the second-year explosive player, second-round pick. Now, based on what Skyy Moore did last year, maybe we expect more of a delayed impact for him, but we're going to be monitoring him. Even Marquez Valdes-Scantling deserves a mention here. His second year to get on the same page as Patrick Mahomes, and he is a deep target. He doesn't have to have a lot of targets to have a fantasy impact. So I think we just have to be open to anything, including, and this is where I become the wet blanket, something like last year where nobody emerges, where week to week, and
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes warned us about this last year. So, if he just would have said, I'm going to be awesome as always, but week to week, a different wide receiver might be awesome, or maybe none at all. Maybe it'll just be Travis Kelce. Maybe it'll be Travis Kelce and Jerick McKinnon. But I do think that the ADPs of all these receivers are depressed so that, see, I'm not saying how does this make sense. We just explained how it makes sense, but it also represents a buying opportunity. Again, in the Football Guys Championship, go check it out, everybody. 2 flexes, 6-point passing touchdowns. And because of the 6-point passing touchdowns, Patrick Mahomes is often going off the board as number 1 quarterback. And yet his receivers are available in the 7th round and later. Now, I know you still got Travis Kelce, but even Jerick McKinnon available in the 10th round. So something does add up there, but it could add to your fantasy team.
This is why I always talk about windows, Bloom, because fantasy football ain't love. You may love fantasy football, but it's not forever, baby.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into this with other teams. Like we may have different incarnations because we're talking about teams that have incredibly talented wide receiver groups. What emerges in week 1 may be completely different
Right.
from even week 3
Right.
or week 8 or
Right.
whatever. So light and sweet, baby. Like be on your toes as a fantasy GM when dealing with these wide receiver groups that are so talent heavy. And that's why a guy like Rashee Rice, who I love, you get to the fancy playoffs, he may be quite
Right.
relevant, where in week 1, he's on everybody's waiver wire.
Right. And I think that is something we're going to watch again with injuries playing into this. With Kadarius Toney, we always have to have injuries play into this. See, it's not difficult to imagine a scenario where drafting Kadarius Toney at ADP ends up at first looking like a poor decision because he gets dinged up in training camp and is slow to start the season. And then come week 4, week 5, he breaks out. And the actual move is buying low around week 2 or week 2, and week 3, everyone's like, why do I keep investing in Kadarius Toney, right? Or even Marquez Valdes-Scantling. If he goes out there and catches 2 long touchdowns in week 1, and people took him in the 15th round, and you make a buy high offer for him, that could be the smartest thing that you do. Maybe having confidence. See, this isn't what this show's about. It's pretty clear that Aaron Rodgers was very unhappy in Green Bay. Yeah, is that
Mhm.
fair?
Oh, yes.
I
Yes.
mean, we've all had probably some relationship where, at least for a stretch, we were unhappy, right? It's hard to be your best self when you're unhappy, right? And you look at Aaron Rodgers and how in New York he's out on the town, he's loving it, right? He's at all the OTAs. What? Aaron Rodgers goes to OTAs? Huh? Different guy. Could it be that Aaron Rodgers and the personality and the burden he put on other people around him maybe held Marquez Valdes-Scantling back a little bit? So there's a lot of different stories we could tell where these players can break out with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, with Pat Mahomes, we'll see what happens with Lamar Jackson in a better offense. Sorry, Greg Roman. You can't do the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
But Lamar Jackson as a passer making these strides, and while I love Rashee Rice, there is no rookie wide receiver that I love more than Zay Flowers. like none, zero. And part of it comes from his film, obviously, at Boston College. The other part comes from our good friend Eric Galco. Shout out Eric Galco running the Shrine game in the Shrine
Yeah.
Bowl,
First round pick at the Shrine
plucking
game.
him, huge get for the Shrine Bowl to get Zay Flowers. And that talent that the Shrine has is pushing and rivaling the Senior Bowl. Zay Flowers, a huge get for Galco. And just seeing him in person, watching him put in that work, field level, outstanding. And then I know everyone gets caught up in Odell Beckham Jr., right? Okay, that's fine. What's he got? They certainly paid him like he still got it.
Right.
Rashod Bateman has talent. He's already hurt. Like, okay, so you got to manage injuries there. Baltimore wide receiver. It's going to be position battle, to be sure. And again, things may change and may be different, but I'm getting Zay Flowers in every single one of my
Yeah.
leagues because he could be the kid that emerges.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like uncertain backfields where it when in doubt, a simple 30,000-foot view rule. Just take the cheapest one. And that's Zay Flowers right now,
Right.
right? But why
Yep.
do we want to be in on this wide receiver battle? Because Todd Monken is going to embrace Lamar Jackson's pocket passing more than Greg Roman did. The pace is also going to pick up. This was a slow-paced offense. Now with Todd Monken's, you're going to put the defense on their heels. You're going to use all these different threats, the running game, Lamar Jackson is a runner, and the threats. How many times, Cecil, have we gone into the season and saying, hey, Baltimore has 3 guys that can be number 1 receivers? I don't even never. I mean, they've
Ever.
they've done the important work to not just sign Lamar Jackson to a deal that he felt like was a true measure of his worth, but to bring in an offensive coordinator, to bring in weapons. Now, if everybody plays to their ceiling, Odell Beckham's the guy. And I think Odell Beckham being this cheap, and hey, maybe Baltimore is irrational. Maybe they've got a bunch of quacks on their medical staff. But if they paid him $15 million, I know it was just 1 year, but if they paid him $50 million, they think they're going to get $15 million of production. If they get $12 million of production, he's a hit at ADP. Just got to stay healthy, which has been a problem. A little bit of a layoff from a game, but it's Odell Beckham. I mean, there's a time that we saw him not that long ago as the best receiver in the game. Rashod Bateman, if he plays up to his ceiling, he's a budding, maybe not truly a number 1, but a guy who's really good at what he does. He already had to have an ejection in his foot this spring. And see, the more I hear it's no big deal, the more my brain says, is it a big deal? This is maybe a big deal. I need to be watching out for
Mm-hmm.
this. So then that leaves Zay Flowers. And it almost seems like by process of elimination, it might be that Zay Flowers hits. He doesn't even have to be a rookie hit like Justin Jefferson, like come out of the gates, Chris Olave, ready to be a full-time starter. But in an offense that's going to get the drop, just like Lamar Jackson's first full year, they're going to get the drop on defenses, at least for some part of the year. The other thing you have to like about Zay Flowers is he's going to run those quick routes, quick opening routes, the layups, which I think you're going to see more of that in the passing game than we saw, partially because they have the personnel to do it, but partially because it's a new approach in Baltimore, which means you should have a new approach to drafting Baltimore wide receivers.
New stuff, new stuff. Why is Houston on this list? Why? I mean, you and I talked about this before, and I was like, Houston, really? And you're like, really? So
Yeah.
hit me with it. Why are we talking about the Texans wide receiver position battle?
Well, new quarterback, who's going to be the best passing quarterback they've had since Deshaun Watson. New offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, is going to bring a lot of the stuff that he's learned in San Francisco. What did he learn in San Francisco in a nutshell? Make the job easier for the quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just
Yeah.
uncertainty. You have Nico Collins, who has a lot of underlying metrics to say with better quarterback play, he's going to break out as that classic big X receiver on the outside. And remember, at Michigan, he already had this problem, he and Donovan Peoples-Jones, where you couldn't actually see how good he was because his quarterbacks weren't good.
Right.
CJ Stroud should do at least this season. He should execute within structure, right? He's ready to
Yes.
execute within structure, and he showed some glimpses, especially against Georgia, of being able to do a lot more than that outside of structure. And they have a good offensive line with Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil. I mean, they have some pieces of a pretty quality offensive line there. But it's not just that. You have John Metchie. Great to hear that he's battled back from his cancer. They took him in the second round last year. He can be a wide receiver who's a quarterback's best friend, but so can Tank Dell. And it kind of sounds like Tank Dell is the quarterback's best friend, right? I mean, CJ Sprout said, "Can you draft Tank Dell, please? I like Tank Dell. We've worked together. He's a very dangerous
Right.
player with the ball in his hands. He could be an instant hit." hey, why not Robert Woods? Why not old Bobby Trees? If none of these youngsters are really clicking, wouldn't it make sense for the rookie quarterback to lean on the veteran, to lean on the reliable receiving option? So there's a lot of potential answers here. And the best part, they're all dirt cheap. So you don't even have to risk very much to get in on the potential that CJ Stroud is a better than expected quarterback and creates better than expected results in what has been one of the worst passing games in the league.
Well, let's talk about another rookie quarterback going to Carolina and Bryce Young. You mentioned leaning on a veteran. Adam Thielen's there.
Yeah.
So he's going to lean on him all day long there with Thielen. So where's the fantasy value they're in? DJ Chark to take the top off the defense. I still believe Terrace Marshall has a ton of talent.
Yep.
We'll see if that comes out. Don't get me started on LaVisca. I won't. I just brought him up, but I won't belabor that. But like Bryce Young's going to raise this passing game, and these wide receivers are going to compete.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential names here. And Bryce Young, so this is the sexier one of the two between Houston and Carolina. If there really is going to be a hit, and we have to be careful. I had JJ Zacharyson on the couch earlier in the offseason, and he told us generally rookie quarterbacks personnel underperform expectations, not just underperform because rookie quarterbacks aren't as good as we hope, but we aren't fully factoring that into ADP. We are overly optimistic. But I think in the case of Carolina, no, there's nobody's out there aspirationally drafting Adam Thielen or Terrace Marshall or Jonathan Mingo or DJ Chark way earlier than they should. They all reflect the skepticism. And the other thing that we have to be very cognizant of here is Frank Reich, Thomas Brown, Deuce Staley. This is a pretty good offensive staff. This is a good staff to
Oh yeah.
rejuvenate an offense, right? Whether you're talking about the running game or the passing game. So this is going to be one, and obviously we're going to touch on this stuff in preseason watch list audio. Check it out. 32 teams, everyone you need to know about. Like you said, Cease, there's a lot of potential guys here. Adam Thielen's the layup guy. Adam Thielen's the guy. And look, Bryce Young has a fast processor, and he's going to be comfortable out there. He's not going to look overwhelmed. So part of that's going to be who's my favorite guy, the guy that gets open. I don't know if Adam Thielen is going to get open on his athleticism, but on his old man game and the routes, if they give him the routes that he runs well underneath, you could see that he's not a vertical threat anymore. Terrace Marshall is probably my favorite here, like you said, Cease. Again, new staff, clean slate. All right,
Yes.
clean slate, potential number one receiver. New staff likes Jonathan Mingo, so you have to at least factor that in. Your discount, your dollar store, maybe not dollar store, just the marked down for a discount, not on a clearance. AJ Brown, DJ Chark is interesting. I love DJ Chark, the player. Now, DJ Chark has had trouble staying healthy. He's had a 1-year, $10 million deal, a prove it deal with the Lions. We didn't really prove anything except that he's going to continue to have these problems. However, Deuce Staley himself recruited him to come to the Lions. I mean, from the Lions, recruited him to come to the Panthers. Lions, Panthers, pretty close, right? Big cat
Mm-hmm.
family there. So he did have some surgery on his ankle foot area that they hope can clear this up. So DJ Chark is one that maybe drafting him is not the best idea because he's coming back from that surgery, but we could see him start to hit. And then Visca. And I think, is Laviska Shenault a disappointment? Has Laviska Shenault had a chance to do the things? Is he really more like Cordero Patterson? Was Cordero Patterson a disappointment as a wide receiver? Yes. Did Cordero
Mm-hmm.
Patterson eventually find a way to contribute because he does have football skills? He does have NFL athleticism and an NFL body. Yes. Could a new
They're
staff?
the same guy. They're the same
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. So, and it's funny, Cease, because like 3 years ago, if you said Laviska Shenault is Cordell Patterson, people would have said like, "Man, why are you being so harsh on him?" But now,
Right. Right.
now you can see there's a path there. So that's actually for a team that traded away their number one wide receiver to go get Bryce Young. There's a lot of interesting pieces here. And again, an offensive staff. Thomas Brown was under Sean McVay. Deuce Staley is going to install a very diverse running game. And just otherwise, he's an assistant head coach too. So this offense is going to have his fingerprints on it, the players, their approach. And then Bryce Young, who maybe he's small, but he's NFL ready as a passer. And dare I say it, Cease, because we're used to this. Dane Brugler pointed this out on the couch before the draft. You're used to the idea, well, hey, Alabama quarterbacks, look at who they had to throw to, Julio Jones and
Mhm.
Calvin Ridley.
Right.
Well, really, who did Bryce Young have to throw to other than Jahmyr Gibbs? This
Jahmyr
is not,
Gibbs.
yeah, he was the leading receiver. So Bryce Young is going to say, this is fun. NFL quality receivers. This is new for me. I like it.
I like it a lot. It is wide receiver position battles here on the Audible and Bloom. It is a Bronco
It's a
show.
Bronco show.
So, and I have to be very careful with what I say, but I did tweet that Courtland Sutton looked explosive and they didn't ask me to take it down. So I feel
Oh,
comfortable in saying that. Courtland Sutton looks as good as he did as a young player, and he hasn't looked that way in a few years.
yeah,
Okay. And it's been what, 2019 when he shredded that knee in week 2?
right.
So it's been a minute. It's been a while since he's looked that good. He looks damn good. Now, does he get traded? Whatever. This is part of the conversation. But Timmy Pats is there. Tim Patrick, a full participant in mandatory minicamp, looking good. Doing similar things. Can't get into specifics, but like there's a Michael Thomas here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
However, and as my man Reggie McDaniel always used to say, there's always a however in life. Bloom, Sean Payton loves Jerry Jeudy. Like, loves him. Like, as much as I love Zay Flowers, I think Sean Payton has a poster of Jerry Jeudy on his wall. So, like, force feed Jerry Jeudy? Sure.
Maybe.
Move him around the formation? I guess. I'm not telling you what I saw at mandatory minicamp, but I'm just guessing that they would
Yeah.
move Jerry Jeudy around the formation. So, wide receiver position battles on a run heavy team, which is odd. So there's going to be one. Okay. You've got a roulette chip. You can only place it on one. And one of these Broncos receivers could hit. Early indications would be, looks like that could be Jerry Jeudy. But this is
Yeah.
going to be a hell of a battle. Oh, and I didn't even mention Marvin Mims. Marvin
Right.
Mims might be, and he was hurt, a little bit of hamstring. He was hurt during he got hurt after rookie minicamp. So it was during OTAs and mandatory minicamp. He was not out there. So again, these wide receiver situations may look different. We may start the season with Jerry Jeudy and end the season with Marvin Mims, but Mims might be the best receiver today for
Right.
this team. So keep
Right.
that in mind as well. But things look like Jerry Jeudy, but again, competition and Sutton's ready, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Sutton's ready. Patrick is ready, and they're going to have a hell of a fight.
Yeah. I think that ADP reflects the picture that you laid out there, that Jerry Jeudy has a chance to pick up where he left off last year and be a fantasy wide receiver 1. And there is a story you can tell, like you said, there's a Michael Thomas in this offense from a uh, profile, from an ability, skill, trait standpoint. It would be Jerry Jeudy. It would make sense for that to be Jerry Jeudy. Patrick and Sutton are outside guys. Mims more of a speed threat. But Jerry Jeudy has to deliver on his side of the equation there, which he hasn't done consistently yet. So I think that while you can take Jerry Jeudy probably in the 3rd round, maybe he slides to the 4th round, you're drafting him closer to his ceiling. His ceiling might be in the 2nd round if he really has a Michael Thomas type role, and if Russell Wilson bounces back. But there's any number of ways that he can stub his toe. And like you said, there's a hungry Courtland Sutton, cheaper than ever. There's Tim Patrick, who's been at least consistent. We'll see if he can come all the way back from his injury. And then Marvin Mims. And see, let's just think of what the Sean Payton offenses did. And I know Sean Payton wasn't there last year with the Rashid Shaheed, but it's Pete Carmichael. It's basically, same ideas. Deontay Hardy, these speed threat wide receivers creating shot play opportunities. And isn't that really, see, when we remember the good times in Seattle with Russell Wilson, what were the good times? The shot plays,
Moonballs.
the moon
Mhm.
balls. That's Marvin Mims. So I think what we're going to be watching is Russell Wilson bouncing back? Who is his chemistry most in tune with? Who's being stressed by Sean Payton's offense in the parameters of what you're allowed to talk about, not allowed to talk about? And just who's staying healthy, who's in practice every day, who's consistent, because there's a lot of opportunity for things to change here in Denver. We just got to pay attention. And I think I know someone at Denver camp that's going to keep us up to date.
Yeah, keeping us up to date on wide receiver position battles. Bloom, we haven't mentioned everybody. So to
Yeah.
tie a bow on today's program, who are some other situations you'll be monitoring?
Yeah, and this isn't exhaustive, including but not limited to Cleveland with all the buzz about Elijah Moore and his chemistry with Deshaun Watson, who's going to come out on top, not so much in a position battle, depth chart battle, but targets and attention from the quarterback. The Giants, You got some returning guys like Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins. You've got Paris Campbell. You've got the rookie Jalen Hyatt, and it's, not the most auspicious beginning, but he has what he can offer there. There's a lot to get sorted out there. There's some stuff to get sorted out in Washington. Look, anytime there's a new offensive coordinator, we should be open to roles changing. We should be open to players being utilized in different ways. And I know we're spending a lot of time talking about the running backs or paying attention to the running backs, but Jahan Dotson, what could he do in year 2? Is it possible that he relegates Terry McLaurin to more of a specialist shot play downfield receiver, and Dotson becomes the guy? And not to mention Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. Who's their chemistry going to be with? Curtis Samuel, resurgent player last year. A lot to sort out there. Green Bay sees this is going to be the story of Green Bay. Is it Dobbs or is it Watson? Right? You're going to have people on both sides. Maybe Jordan Love underperforms and it doesn't matter. Maybe Jordan Love overperforms, and getting this right or reacting quickly once we have an idea who it's going to be is going to be extremely important. But Christian Watson, again, 4th round pick. So Christian Watson, the people that love Christian Watson are showing it. Romeo Dobbs a lot cheaper. So in these uncertain situations, looking at that cheaper option, because there have been a lot of reports that Dobbs is the guy that Love has been favoring. So much position battles that we're looking forward to, and it's always, you always say stay frosty. This is the kind of stuff you got to be frosty about, right?
Yeah, exactly. Stay on top of your game with footballguys.com. And if you found value in this show, one, we appreciate you. Two, check out footballguys.com. Sign up for that free daily newsletter. All the NFL news that you need to know right to your inbox every single morning. You have a life. We don't. So we keep you up to date on what's going on in the NFL. It's our footballguys.com free daily newsletter. It's available at footballguys.com. So make sure to do the YouTube things, smash the freaking like button, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we appreciate you all for helping to grow our YouTube channel. He's Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey. We are The Audible, everyone. Thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned and stay frosty.